welcome back, everyone, as we're about to dive into two of the surprise teams of Spring in XL and Misfits. But first, we still have to crown the Kia Player of the Game of BDS versus SK. Now, something really interesting happened. Jezu won, but he won because he got 33.7% of the votes. Certus got 33.1%, and Genax, and Certus got 33.2%. That's crazy. I don't think it's a difference of 8 votes. We've never had it that close.
I mean, I feel like it was just close from all the members of SK. It felt like a team effort as well. The way they did it. It was a slow-paced games. No one really stood out. And I think that's the votes are looking like they are.
Yeah.
I feel like this was robbed a little bit.
Yeah, this is robbed a little bit. Just like he robbed the objectives.
Exactly, and I think that's why I think his light steals are super important throughout the outcome of the game. And but huge props to SK. I think it's a good way to start your season. Something Medic and I were talking about was BDS is one of the teams that you kind of expect to be competing with towards the bottom end of the table, at least in terms of our initial expectations for SKR. So getting a win here is very big throughout the rest of the season.
And it's not like BDS got kind of like blown out of the game immediately, right? They did have a solid early game, so something to build on at least.
Generally speaking, I thought BDS were already looking better in some of the macro decisions that we saw from Spring coming in. I actually thought Adoza had a really good read on the map as well. He was matching treats, and it felt like there is more to be done. So I'm hopeful, actually, for the roster. I genuinely thought the level of play was higher.
Don't you love the beginning of the season where you're just hopeful of the little things? I absolutely love it. So something we can be very optimistic about is about the two teams on the Rift right now. XL and Misfits are clashing in Game 3, and they were both convincing when it came to the Spring season. First off, XL, they finally made playoffs. If we remember, they went all 5 games with Vitality. Unfortunately, couldn't get past them. But Guldborg, it was such a long time coming, and they finally got over that hurdle.
It definitely felt deserved this time around, because even in the game they finally qualified, I remember it so vividly against SK, right? It was just a stomp. It wasn't really close at all whatsoever. So it was just, in general, a team that came together, but I still think they have a lot of improvement to be had as a roster. I genuinely feel like they're coming off a good foundation. They finally have a full roster from the start of the split, unless they, decide to change out one of their players again with split. But either way, I feel like XL, there's reason to be a little bit more optimistic than last split, at least.
I'll never forget XL when they came into the league. They were like, we want to invest in young talent, the 2-year plan, and all they had to do was bench all their rookies, get a bunch of veterans, and hey-ho, we're in playoffs. Like, a lot of credit, of course, to XL. This roster is finally finding a lot of success for the organization. Of course, when they got to playoffs, they weren't able to find a lot of success, but, baby steps. Yeah. And I think one of the most important things about the roster is it stayed the same. And that, for me, is the most important thing for XL. This is not something that we get to see from the org very often, and I'm hoping that they can build upon the development that they started on in Spring.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like at least they kept Markoon, still 19 years old, still a young jungler, still one of our EU junglers we can build on over time if we want to,
I know we're clowning a little bit, but you are right, Vedius. Finn, Nukeduck, Patrik, Mikyx, they fit around, but they have Markoon in the mix, who's obviously been playing very well also in Spring. But there's a lot of rumble on social media about how excited we should be about this roster. If you look at the way they got into playoffs and the good things they showed from Spring, why is that? What is it about this roster that makes you think they could be a contender?
Well, I think the veterancy is something that you can't really afford to underestimate anymore. The reality is that Mikyx and Patrik should be considered one of the strongest bot lanes that we have in the league. They are a very touted duo that has a lot of experience at this point, and mechanically and both in terms of macro, they're just very good. On top of that, when it came to the off-season, we heard that they got to go to Korea, they got scrims, they didn't just get any scrims, they got scrims against some very good teams. We saw some fun tweets about Nukeduck slapping FLICKR, and basically it seems that their off-season practice, along with the synergy that they as a team have built, has been very fruitful and productive. So coming into the season, at least initial expectations should be high. Whether they can maintain that, still another debate.
That's a different thing from before, because they haven't always been high for XL, but I'm really happy that we can look at them through this lens. Let's look at their opponents in Game 3. Misfits. Misfits made one change, and it was in the top lane. Here it is no longer there, but Irrelevant is now promoted from their academy roster.
It's an interesting swap coming into the top side of the map. If you're not familiar with Irrelevant, well, one of his most played champions was still Gnar. I mean, some people see him as a weak sider. I see it more in the sense that he's not really getting too many resources from his teammates, but the champions he's picking are still champions that can get aggressive if they want to. He's quite aggressive, and like Hirit, that can sometimes bite him in the back a little bit if he's too overstepped and there's no one to really evaluate him or actually facilitate him rather. But I generally feel like this guy leaves more room to build on the kind of talent that Misfits has tried to do as a roster now. I think they are establishing themselves as the organization, you know, that really tries to thrive on EU talent now.
Well, in terms of EU talent or younger players, this guy's only been like active on the pro scene since 2020, been in the LFL most recently, of course. So, Vedius, do you think that is a good way to go? Knowing that they got to 3rd place in the regular season already, right?
Well, I think that I had the opportunity to speak with the Fisher a little bit yesterday, and basically some of the context he gave me was Irrelevant provides a lot more consistency than compared to what we saw from Hirit. He did struggle in spring. His performance was not at the level as what we saw from last year, and I think a large part of that was because the roster made a number of changes, both in support and jungle, and Hirit wasn't able to get the number of resources that he had in the past. And that's why last split, it was very much the Vetheo show. And so when we look at Irrelevant, he as a player is someone that can provide way more consistency in theory, that just better fits the entire team and basically makes everything a little bit more stable.
But I also, in general, feel like it's a player that can open up for other playstyles as well, down towards the bot side instead. As you said with yourself, right? Hirit had a style where he was quite reliant on being facilitated. And even when he weren't being facilitated, he was very adamant in staying at his own style. Yeah. Maybe, and I'm saying maybe because I haven't seen him play yet in this roster, Irrelevant is the kind of guy that can enable a guy like Neon as well, who did have some pop-on performances when he was playing Jinx last spring as well.
He didn't get that much jungle proximity attention, but he still did admirably in his lane. So I think in terms of stability for Misfits, that's going to be very helpful. We have a bit of a delay, and that does allow us to breach a little bit of a topic we could not stop talking about in spring, Vetheo. So he won the spring MVP vote as well. I think that was very deserved. Maybe some people thought, well, he didn't get very far in playoffs or whatnot, Vedius. But how do you see this evolving now that teams still know this, but people have known that Vetheo is strong for the entire spring as well, and they still lost to him, so...
Well, I think that basically we have to give some context as to why he even got MVP in the first place, because for those that didn't watch spring, he was basically a one-man army, right? Don't get me wrong, there were a lot of highlight moments from many members of this Misfits squad, but when the chips were down and when you needed someone to step up, it was Vetheo. When the roster was struggling, he was a consistent part that, like, I remember I was looking into the stats, he basically never had a bad laning phase. Which when you compare to his previous year, his rookie year, is an insane step up in terms of his development. And so many games that this team should not have won were won because of this guy. His individual talent was just so standout, it was difficult to not award him the MVP vote of spring. And you can look at some of his statistics on your screen, all very impressive, but coming to this split, I think everyone's expectations are he will still be the main man. He will still be the front and center superstar. The question is, will the meta allow for him to be that player? And will this new team environment best set him up to be the superstar that he was last split?
Well, I fully agree with the Vetheo point about him being a solo carry essentially as well, because I remember just looking back at spring games and I generally thought Misfits are not making playoffs because I thought their wins were too inconsistent. They were too reliant on Vetheo. Luckily for them, well, Vetheo was just a consistent apply we actually had to the team that allowed them to move forward. Some of those inconsistencies, though, I feel like were lying with Shlatan, were lying with Mersa, and then even more specifically, them teaming up as a jungle support duo, because that's something that's incredibly important when we are playing higher level League of Legends, how you function as that team dynamic. That is something I'm hoping now moving forward as well with this roster, that we will see more with Misfits evolving on, because it can't just be Vetheo time and time again. We have the European regional talent in the roster, but it also needs to be developed.
The thing that I will say is, so far today, we have seen some teams benefit more from the durability patch changes than others.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that when we look at a team like Misfits, they were a team known for their team fighting. Their early game was never good. Shlatan was not the most proactive jungler, and he wasn't someone that necessarily tried to snowball his lanes, but the team fighting is really where this team shone. And this was even the case last year, right? When they had a very different roster, it was their team fighting. And of course, a lot of that comes off the back of Vetheo, but the organization clearly knows how to build good team fighting lineups. They know how to draft in a great team fighting way. And if the meta is slower early, smart macro in the mid game, and then ultimately boiling down to a big fight that will determine the game, you could argue that that will largely benefit Misfits, especially early on in the season.
And even more so because this meta, as we've already seen with just SK versus BDS now, it gives you more chances to find these team fights. You might mess up one of these big team fights that we're talking about, and then on 12.9, well, that would have been the game over, right? That probably would have been Baron. That probably would have been the last final nail in coffin really needed to solidify that victory. Now you get more chances chances from the early game to the team fight to the late game.
XL also no slouches when it came to the team fights, especially at the latter parts of last season. So I think both of these teams are very keen on proving their strength of their roster coming straight into summer. And as for us, we're going to head over to our casters. It's Caedrel and Quickshot.
Thank you so much, Berlin! Welcome to the caster desk. It is such a great day to have fans in the studio. So we're celebrating Pride Month, and I just wanted to do something a little bit special, you know?
Cute little Gnar. It's one of my favorite skins, actually, because the dinosaur transforms.
And you didn't notice anything?
No, I saw your nails looking incredible.
Thank you. That was what I was looking for.
I like them all.
Berlin, are you excited to watch XL take on Misfits? Woo! That was pathetic.
Bit louder.
That was pathetic. Berlin, are you excited?
It is going to be a great game, because if you actually look at these two teams, XL finished 5th last split and Misfits finished 3rd. And you might not expect it, but this is actually a top 5 game in 2022. Playoffs fell short, both these teams, but XL's been on a Korean bootcamp. Misfits picked up a new top laner, and both teams want to upgrade going into summer.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, first game against one another. Both teams surprising somewhat towards the latter half of the season. I think Misfits in particular, their regular season run, you cannot really explain what happened. They just managed to find magical clutches in games that, frankly, they shouldn't have won.
They just got away with it, didn't they, Trev? I don't know how they pulled it off, but they won so many best of ones off the back of Vetheo, but best of ones are volatile. And we saw in playoffs they just weren't at the caliber that they needed to be when it came to playoffs, because teams grow. Misfits didn't really find that next step in the process after spring, and they fell short. Yeah,
they really did. Now, coming into today, significant changes, obviously, to the patch. We've seen 2 very controlled games to start off the day, and I think it's way too early to be making any expectations or predictions on where things are going to land. But I do think I'm interested to see whether or not teams are going to start to diversify, if there's going to be different reads on what you want to debut in your first game of summer.
Yeah, I was speaking to Orianna a bit from Rogue about the patch changes, summer split, Europe in general, and he said it'll take about 4 to 5 weeks for these teams to really show where their caliber is. The first 4 weeks are going to be growing pains for the teams, especially the ones with changes, learning new patches, 12-11 coming in after having scrimmed on 12-10 on the Korean boot camps and things like this. So a lot of things have changed, and all these teams just kind of need to find where they are by week 4 or 5. If you haven't, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you talk about those changes. Irrelevant, new player on Misfits making his debut on the stage. We'll see what he can do in a moment as we load up into picks and bans summer. This just feels right. I will be honest, this is the first time I'm looking at the fans in the eyes, because I was so anxious about having a full crowd for a regular season game. Now with the music, with draft on screen, and 3rd and 5th place teams from Spring, some questions to answer.
It's great to have you next to me, Trev.
So good.
As well. This feels awesome. It definitely does. Straight into picks and bans, though. Interesting ban from XL. Lee Sin taken away from Shlatan straight away. Gangplank ban coming through. A lot of these first picks, obviously, when you're red side, it's always beneficial for you to trade 1 for 2 in the OPs. And XL on the blue side probably want to avoid that. So a lot of odd bans that we haven't been seeing throughout the day coming out, but definitely target bans so far.
Of course, what will be the priority then for first pick? And what will XL decide to use? I think that Korean bootcamp and the fact that the roster stuck together, the fact that they were ramping up towards the end of spring, I think they're going to have higher expectations for their opening weeks. And seeing how they ended the season, I'm hoping that train will continue.
Definitely are. I think by week 3 or 4, we should compare the teams that went on Korean bootcamps and those that didn't, see where they are in the standings, see if it actually is worth it. I mean, G2's been scrimming since September last year. Anyway, they were scrimming during Worlds when they were trying out their new roster. So they've been going for a hell of a long time. Renato, Wukong bans coming out to round out the drafts. Things like Viego are up. We'll see what XL want to first pick. Kalista opens, Senna, Ezreal. A lot of these bot laners are what we've been seeing bans most of the time.
That Kalista, by the way, hasn't been played once by Patrik this year.
It's a Yuumi first pick.
Thank you, Berlin. That is the correct response to a Yuumi first pick.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Oh, she's back. She's back.
But that signals to me that XL probably wants an Ezreal on 2-3. We'll see if Misfits want to deny it. Ezreal can pair with so many different support champions. Misfits will know that they want the Ezreal, so you have two options. One, blind pick a very strong AD carry that does well into it, or just take it away yourselves.
And of course, that Ezreal, Neon's not played it this year at all. Viego will find himself locked in, and the question will be answered in a moment. Do they steal Ezreal or know that it's coming and have an answer to run into it?
And there was also a discussion about AD junglers on this patch, because you've got Wukong, you've got Viego, and then you've got Lee Sin perhaps, but after that you slowly fall off a cliff with AD junglers. There aren't that many that are so viable.
So that means Markoon may be in a little bit of trouble with the Lee Sin and Wukong already being banned away. And there's one of those champions that could do well. Is Zeri for the second time on the day.
Yeah, Zeri, of course, something that I overlooked. Oh, you got a right in the cat!
Ooh.
So, they've gone for Twitch. You would think Zeri, you would think Ezreal with the Yuumi first pick, but that's just a Twitch insta-lock there for XL. Of course, you have the camouflage. You can go into invisible with the Yuumi on top of you, just pop out with the ultimate and have the Yuumi ult as well. There's a Gwen picked up as well for Finn.
How many professional games has Patrik played on Twitch?
0.
Correct. This is his first, the beginning of season. And Gwen will be followed up as well. So, what the hell does Mersa want to run into this Twitch Yuumi combination? Is some form of lockdown, obviously.
Yeah, I think Misfits just don't get caught off guard. It's the important thing. Just keep it calm. Nautilus, Alistar, anything that can lock this Twitch down the second he opens up is important. I expect their draft on 4-5 to revolve around it a little bit. Some champs that can shut down the Twitch, and Ornn, for example, would do brilliantly. Any kind of hard engage, the second the Twitch opens up, he's gone.
Now it's going to get interesting when we start looking at the rest of these solo laners, figuring out what Nukeduck and Vetheo want to run in that middle lane. Once again, we're seeing the makings of some good team fighting again. I think both of the two previous games, a lot of 5-on-5 options and availabilities to them.
Yeah, feels like that one kind of 5v5 just naturally breaks the game open, whether it ends it on the spot or just runs away with it. There's one of the AD junglers that we saw today from Haruk. Sinzao got a little bit of a buff on 12.11, I believe it was. So he does fall into that AD jungle pool, got a little bit of passive healing increase, W damage, all that good stuff. And just going to try to deny that for now. So XL looking towards mid jungle. Misfits looking towards their solo lanes. And of course, with the Gwen pickup, they can afford to ban out top laners. Jack's taken away already.
We can. When you take a look at Irrelevant, by the way, most played champions over in the LFL, Gnar 6 games, Jace 3 games, Akshan 2 games, Jax, Gangplank, Renekton. Likes to play the champions that'll get in your face, have impact throughout the stages. And Ari, another favor of the moment, banned away. So Nukeduck going to fall back on something else. And this is definitely a slower pace. I think the Yuumi Twitch throwing some prep off potentially.
It's exciting to see, but when you realize that this is probably going to be scaling till 2 or 3 items, you know it's just going to wait for a team fight. Unless XL can somehow get their bot lane towards mid and get that 3-man gank in. I hope they do something level 1 as well, because I feel like Twitch Yuumi level 1 can pull out a whole load of shenanigans.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
That's exactly.
Okay, now what do you run into this composition and how do they start to play it out? This is such a drastic departure from what we were seeing during the course of spring and MSI, and I'm hoping it gets a little bit spicier.
That's Sylas ban to me just stands out a little bit. I really wonder what XL is going to blind pick, but there's Irrelevant's Gnar, as we expected, his most played in the ERLs. Bit of a comfort champ there. I think there's a lot better counters to Gwen naturally, but comfort's key when he's got his first debut game in the LEC.
6 games played, 4 of them were victories. I think it's interesting as well, here it played a lot of Gnar, and he tried to play Gnar in spring with little success, unfortunately. So this is interesting for me in my perspective, just seeing how Irrelevant will be piloting the champion that Misfits as an organization has leaned towards. And Nukeduck will be locking in that Twisted Fate. This is a terrifying combo when you add up the addition of the Twitch that can be roaming, ganking, and invisible from time to time.
I'm a bit worried for XL here because, yeah, Volibear lock-in to me doesn't... This 4-5 from XL is quite weak, I have to say. You're playing an AP top, AP mid, Volibear hybrid. You've got Yuumi who's AP as well, so quite heavy on ability power. Quite easy to itemize for Misfits, but like you said, a lot of kind of surprise factor on this draft. Twitch Yuumi out of nowhere, TF ult coming in. You can instantly turn a 1v1 into a 4v1. And there's an Orianna just to safely round out the comp of Misfits, which is a bit more well-rounded, I would say.
It feels like they've got more versatility. They can look for some picks if they find some CC. I do feel like the XL comp, though, very powerful at finding picks if they can combo that TF plus Twitch.
Yeah, Picks is the name of the game for XL's comp. Their damage share is quite weak. We were discussing AD junglers earlier in the draft, and with Xin Zhao, Lee Sin down, Wukong down, XL couldn't really find any. We've seen Kindreds every now and then. I think it was Piosik who played it for DRX a couple days ago in the LCK, but you really have to dig deep and have some kind of pocket picks to pull that out. Looks like Markoon didn't have it, but like I said, XL, full pick comp, Misfits, full kind of teamfight-esque comp with a little bit of side laning in it.
Do you feel like the pressure is on XL to make proactive moves to get ahead so they can continue making picks and not allow the Misfits comp to scale up and potentially be a teamfight threat?
100%. I mean, they've got a lot to fall back on. You know, Gwen and Twitch, Yuumi, these three champions in the late game will always scale extremely well. So the only problem you run into is a lot of single target damage and a lot of unreliable engage, I like to call it. You've got a TF, stun card, and then a Volibear follow-up, and then that basically needs to be enough lockdown for your team to follow up. When you're playing on Misfits draft, Nautilus can buy you enough time. Gnar in the front line can buy you enough time. So the setup for XL, they need to hammer it home. They need to hammer that nail in as soon as it lands. And if they can't, Misfits will just take over.
It means you need to execute every single skill shot. I seem to remember XL playing challenging drafts in the spring season as well a number of times and not being able to necessarily execute it, but has this Korean bootcamp helped them out? That's what we're going to find out.
Definitely is. And I mean, you got the solo queue, you got the scrims, a lot of many different things that you could play, and the environment change, I think, is what's the most important. You know, when you're in a completely different environment and everyone's tryharding in solo queue and tryharding in scrims and you're playing against different people all the time, you know, it just brings that kind of breath of fresh air. Was it worth it? We'll have to see. Misfits, quite a powerful draft, I have to say.
And digging into the traditional day one, show one question marks, obviously for XL, they stuck together as a unit, they went away to practice, to train, they come back as a unit, the assumption being they're working on things, things are going well, you know, they didn't need to make changes. Misfits, on the other hand, a disappointing end to spring. After finishing third in the regular season, after having some of the most dramatic and entertaining games, that they found those moments again and again to win, they did not live up to their own expectations in playoffs.
Definitely didn't. Instantly fell short. The problem is Misfits had one win condition, let's be realistic. It was Vetheo. Yeah. It was really their only way to win the game was just funnel everything into mid and then pray that Vetheo clutches it, carries, has those shining star moments which he had so well, so many times, so frequently throughout the regular season. Didn't end up having it. And I think when you just kind of invest resources towards mid and stop that from happening, then you can shut that down, slow the game down, and then allow your side lanes to take over. But Orianna, a bit of a harder champ to just sort of individually carry the game on. You know, LeBlanc and Ari, these kind of champions can make individual plays, solo plays. You can be decisive on your own, whereas Orianna needs a little bit more setup around her to make those clutch plays.
I do remember Misfits team fighting being pretty on point, and many of those fights while in a goal deficit. So as a squad, they do have some hope there for that.
Kind of like Mad Lions, really, aren't they? You know, Mad Lions of last year, you always think of them, you know, they're down 2 or 3k gold, but they just do this one incredible team fight and then bang, they're straight back in it. And who's the front, who's the spear behind the entire team fight? It's Vetheo.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it again today. As you can see, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else, there's just a small delay here as we get the players back into the lobby. I believe it had to get remade, so hopefully we will get them into game in a moment. I am going to put you on the spot a little bit and try to give me some expectations for the laning phase. And I think maybe the focus for me has to be this bottom lane.
Yeah, I think XL, I mean, you can use a Volibear early game to try and find innovative ganks, I would say. You know, level 3, some crazy pathing, 3 camps on blue side into mid gank from top side, something like this for XL. But yeah, level 6 is where you want to strike. I think a lot of people see TF and they think you have to do something. And as much as you are correct that you have to do something, TF can also be a pressure point. You know, I want to make a play on the enemy team. I want to dive your bot lane. But then I'm told by my mid laner, TF has ultimate. I can't do it. So yeah, the power and the pressure that spell puts on the enemy team as well to stop them from making plays naturally slows the game down. So when you do use that first TF ult and it has quite a long cooldown, you have to get something for it. So XL level 6 is where they'll strike. On the side of Misfits, good scaling. Viego, Orianna, Zeri, you're happy to chill. Gnar, not a huge fan of this champion myself. Will struggle into the Gwen later on, but of course, if you can do a good Gnar ult in teamfights, then happy days. So I think Misfits are kind of just on the back seat, chilling. You know, Viego will just farm up and it's on to X. They just have to answer XL's plays. Yeah,
XL, you're looking to throw the first jab. They're going to be looking for the knockout punch. They don't land it. Chips will start to be stacked in Misfits' favor. I really want to see how these two teams hit the Rift as well, because they were both willing to play aggressive, get into the thick of things earlier, very high CKPM across the first 14 minutes of game, and we didn't see that the first 2 games.
No, definitely didn't. And just a note, as I think we're slowly getting into the game, the desk talked about it. Oh, look at the balance on that minion. Will it stay there the entire game is the question.
I think they can get more minions on their heads. Can anyone pass a minion down? Can they stack this up? Find us a minion.
They've gone already.
I started saying that the cameraman ran away. So what you read from that is the producer saying this is not a game we want to play.
Definitely not. Mikyx, I know what I was going to touch on there is the best touch on experience. You know, XL had this rookie plan, and now they've got Finn and Nukeduck and Patrik and Mickey, all these veterans players. But as I say that, we're getting straight into game. Misfits versus XL.
Will there be any shenanigans with Volibear? It looks like a defensive setup here from XL's perspective. Mersa and Neon stepping forward. Vetheo coming in as well. Taking a quick look down wounds and keystones. And of course, nothing's going to happen just yet. Both teams respecting, playing a little safe and slow.
Ooh, are they going to fancy themselves a level 1 invade? I mean, Nautilus level 1 is pretty powerful. If Viego starts W, you could try to force something. Yuumi, of course, level 1, quite weak, but does have the double summoners. Maybe Misfits just want information. We were talking about the Volibear being able to make those early plays. That early ward should spawn him out when he goes towards the Raptors. But then again, Markoon now knows that it's there, so he can have tried to avoid it.
And that's where we're going to start tracking, where Markoon and Shlatan, where they move around the map, who they can influence and when. XL going to need a little bit of time. You mentioned in draft, as soon as Twitch was locked in, really wants to get 2 items before he starts to set up those spray and prays.
Is this the level 1 shenanigans? Is he going to use his Q and run in, or is he just covering to see if there's an invade? No, they have sweeper. So when you put a ward down and base for the sweeper's only available at around 1 minute 28, 29. So you have to stick around, awkwardly stand there for your sweeper to come up and then use it, get the ward to make sure they can't spot out your jungler. And that means you're late to the lane. That does tell Misfits that XL's bot lane didn't leash, but they'll be back in time for the experience.
Well, talking about experience, you mentioned it just before we went into game. Take a look at how many LEC all-time games have been played between the teams.
Nukeduck and Mickey just single-handedly together over double the entire Misfits. Yes. Maybe even over triple.
Neon's got the highest number at 109. Is Irrelevant is being jumped on for now. First LEC game for Irrelevant, 25 for Shlatan. Of course, just a little bit ahead of Markoon, who came in last season.
Yeah,
so future players, future teams to keep an eye on, because these are the teams that 3rd and 5th are looking to contest and catch up to the G2's, Fanatics, and Rogues of the world.
Yeah, I was speaking about veterancy on XL, and I think Nukeduck's probably the most veteran bid. Mickey's probably at least top 2 most veteran support next to Hilly, I presume. And then Patrik maybe would surprise you, but I think he's probably tied 2nd or 3rd. Kobe 1st, Upset and Patrik probably 2nd and 3rd, so those 3 players alone.
A lot of games under their belts.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually asked our stats team a little bit earlier who the oldest player in the league is. I think it might be Chachi. So he's 29, and I'm not 100% certain if anybody was older than him prior.
Good old Chachi.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to see him back for summer.
I wonder if, you know, age grows with the game. You know, League of Legends came out, what, 12 years ago? CS came out, I don't know how many years ago, early 2000s, something like this. And some of the players are still playing in their 30s, right? So I wonder if League follows that trajectory towards longer and longer kind of career lengths, or getting towards the 30s. Players in 5-6 years will still be competing.
Well, Berlin, I have a quick stat for you. The oldest player to have played in the European LEC is Chachi. He currently holds the record because he's the oldest. So there we go, 29 years old.
And he'll be playing next game.
They are indeed. Take a look at this. Markoon and Nukeduck just throwing a thumbs up. Shlatan and Vetheo dash forward for a little stun. It is replied back. Command Protect doing a lot of work. 200 hit points. Shlatan forced to flash to safety. And he's able to survive. Nukeduck flashes in for the auto. It looked like that was the fight that Misfits started. Nukeduck's got double buffs. Vethio's under the tower. Markoon, that was massive.
Oh, Markoon's got the mental advantage now. Took the crab in front of Shlatan. Now he took his life as well alongside his mid laner, Vetheo. I think that's probably one of the earliest first bloods we've had in the LEC today. You
need to go back and tell me, what are players thinking when the taunt is happening? It's so clear. It's like, if you want to fight, I can fight. If you want to fight.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Shlatan took the bait.
It's the push and pull. You know, you walk up, you're all cocky, you think this is your lane, you're going to push him out. The second they start fighting back, you think to yourself, hang on a second, this is the stupid idea. And XL just kind of punish it in their face. Misfits being a little bit disrespectful there. I think Shlatan wants to contest the wave to secure top crab for himself, but he ends up giving away 2 kills and the crab. So mid jungle, off to a huge lead here for XL. I mean, Nukeduck will get close to level 6 as we look at this one again. Markoon just took the bot crab from Shlatan. Thumbs up, I'm going to push your mid wave. Top crab's mine as well, buddy. Shlatan's like, no, it's not. Fights him back for it. And then, of course, the early game Volibear and the TF just makes it so Shlatan takes way too much damage. He ends up falling. Now watch Nukeduck's movement here. Vetheo has mana for one single Q. Instead of running back here, he runs forward, so he dodges it. And now Vetheo can't actually get the kill on the next auto attack. Markoon punishes when he walks up. And down goes Vetheo. So
nicely done in the Unsealed Spellbook. I didn't see whether or not the swap to Ignite during the course of the fight or not. That obviously helps out. And Misfits can see 2 early kills. They're down 1,300 gold. Neon is also running away from that Prowling Claw, projectile rather. And Patrik, right now, sitting happy in lane. This will slowly push towards Neon, however.
Yeah, and it's going to bring up the minimap here for a second, because you look at the top side vision XL have to work with. You know, Finn can catch this wave, push this wave as much as he wants, and obviously when you're playing League of Legends, you can play Process of Elimination. If Shlatan's not top side, he's probably bot side. Patrik getting a little bit aggressive here.
Held my breath for a moment. Mersa gets slowed down. Poison's dropped on his butt, and with the big giant rat head, looking to expunge that. So much damage. That's all from an attempted Q. Markoon was in the area, but that was so brutal.
I don't think I've ever seen a level 4 Twitch play that aggressive before. Just walks into Nautilus's face, dodges his Q, refuses to elaborate, and takes half his HP.
That is Patrik, though. Patrik likes to play in your face. Yeah. Likes to be an aggressive player.
Hello, this is Patrik. XL will take a Drake off the back of that. Misfits can't really contest this. Waves under tower, no vision either. They've transitioned that top side vision that I just pointed out towards the bot side of the map now to free up their bot lane. So wherever Markoon goes, XL own that side of the map.
This is brutal start here. XL, they needed to be the proactive team. When we were in draft, we talked about how their champions will want to be throwing the first punch, landing the abilities, and then getting the kills. And once you start seeing Nukeduck and Patrik unlocked, that can accelerate the game significantly. Destiny is available, and lanes are necessarily set up. Expunge goes out, and Neon's going to dash through the wall for safety for now.
Yeah, look at this bot wave. So it's pushing into XL. Patrik steps up. Markoon is around. Nukeduck has ult. Doesn't have enough mana just yet, but the double ping setup means that they can contest his bot scrap. Shlatan doesn't have the 900 damage smite. He only has 450, so he has to back away. No flash either. Nukeduck could pop the ult on top of him if he tried to get it. So another crab in favor of Markoon. Will be close to. Does get the level 6. Level up now. All lanes going in XL's favor for now.
And remember that during the draft, so many junglers that are supposedly higher on the tier list, banned away, removed away. Viego first picked by Misfits. Markoon does go back to a jungler. He's played a fair amount. I think he's had 9 or 10 games professionally on this champion. But more importantly, the decision-making, where he has moved around the map.
Here he goes again.
And where he's punished Shlatan has allowed him to extend this lead. Already got a level advantage. The Sky Splits. Stormbringer is available if he wants to jump in. Challenging for the red. Neither lane is moving yet, but top was pushing in favor of Finn. Markoon's going to steal another objective from Shlatan. This is just brutal.
Yeah, this is good proactivity right here from Markoon. This is just punishment from the early mid-jungle 2v2. I mean, he's a level up on the Viego, and he has a TF ult behind him. Nukeduck didn't have enough mana that time around, but still wins out on the 1v1, so he's just forcing the advantage that he's been given and takes away camps from Shlatan. So that farming jungler of Viego will be on the back foot, should secure a Herald as well. Another early game objective in XL's back pocket. Finn feels confident enough to just start it himself while Markoon finishes his camp. And everyone's just kind of holding each other's hands, helping each other out throughout this early game for XL.
Very happy to see that. Comp needed to be executed that way and has been. Nukeduck off the recall is now making his way down to the bottom lane, clearing this wave out, and maybe the shenanigans are afoot. Patrik is nearly level 6. We'll be able to set up a combo play with anybody coming around. If Markoon wants to come through the jungle, jump over the trees, that's a possibility. Destiny can bring Nukeduck in, and there's Patrik. A rat and a cat, Tom and Jerry, not going to find the kill this time round.
So XL have opted into swapping their mid and bot. I didn't see the waves before. Maybe they were forced into it, but for now, this is the lane state that they're sitting in. I mean, Orianna is a champion that's pretty happy to play 1v2. Incredibly long range, can push the wave in whenever she wants, and is pretty safe in general. Finn, level 7 to level 8, wants to get aggressive onto Irrelevant. And this just means that Irrelevant's freed up because Nukeduck's bot lane. TF ult doesn't reach that far whatsoever. It can barely reach towards mid at this point. So this opens up a bot side of the map here for Misfits to just walk straight into.
They've invested the resources already. 3 members inside the red buff. Shlatan looking to reclaim what was stolen. Blast going over the wall. Mikyx attached to Markoon and waiting to see what happens there. The Gnar will lock Finn up. Gets chucked by the boulders and he jumps away from the snippity snips. The rest of Misfits have run away. It is when nothing hits.
Is that what it's called?
We've got Tom and Jerry and snip.
Oh, we've got a great game here.
I think that we do.
Is it still called Ratatatata, the ult?
It will be when I say it.
Okay.
I actually get messages from fans telling me off for saying that because it's been changed for years now.
It's spray and pray now, isn't it?
I know. Ratatata was so much better.
Yeah, I think so.
It fits the character as well.
Rolls off the tongue nicely.
And if anyone in the audience is like, I don't know what they mean, you are very young and I'm very happy for you. Well, there's Patrik.
Are we the zoomer and the boomer? Are we?
Well, I'm definitely a boomer.
I don't know.
I don't think you're a zoomer, I'm afraid. I hate to disappoint you.
I look like a zoomer.
I worked with the zoomer for long enough. Ender is the zoomer. There is no doubt about it.
Shout out to Ender.
Yeah.
And now Excel's bot lane's towards top lane. They have Herald in their back pocket, so I expect this TP from Finn is to commit to the lane swap. Nukeduck's back mid, ready to ult top if he needs to. And now Excel probably looking for a Herald top.
Well, Misfits potentially countering or hunting themselves. Mikyx will have support there from Patrik. The Rat-tat-tat will be great in those tight corners, but
you're not gonna say spray and pray
not once now. No. Now it's a challenge, right? Let's talk about the setups for this. Not the deepest vision from Excel in comparison to earlier. Just that one ward up top. They're not going to contest and move that one away, but both teams were kind of looking for an opportunity to punish.
Yeah, so what Excel's doing is they're making Misfits respond. They run top, threaten the Herald, their bot lane has to run towards top side, Vetheo has to run towards top side, and then what do? They back off in base. Now they're going to go towards bot side and get Dragon. So Misfits are going to have to do the exact same thing, just answer towards the bot side, and Shlatan's already reading the play. Patrik might look to get Vetheo's flash or ultimate here, but he's a bit too late.
What I wanted to try do, if we get a super clear, obvious setup where Twitch goes invisible and he's hunting, let's just go silent and only start commentating after he's had his line. Because that was really what I was hiding.
And then the next one will do the jaws.
There we go. Dun. Absolutely. Well, Mersa is looking forward, and I think if you cast your minds back to spring, Misfits would quite regularly fall behind their opponents during the early game. This one at 11 minutes is relatively stable, 1,600. It's the pure pressure from XL, the ability for Destiny, plus you have no idea where Patrik's going to come out. That's what you were sort of talking about. Yes, Destiny was used. No, it didn't need to be cast, but it gave the information, the threat that Misfits have to respect and back away.
Yeah, it's one of those tie for a leash moments. You know, Misfits thought they had it. In comes the Destiny. They have to back off. And yeah, Misfits just end up with nothing. There's the Herald plays bot. I think it was probably timing out, and they didn't have enough setup to just commit for a full tower. So just pop it, get some plates over to the Twitch. And Finn's just hovering around for now. Someone's going to have to catch top wave. I mean, XL have an option here to send TF running top, and then he can catch the next mid wave. Otherwise, Finn's just going to have to base, because his job right here is a bit useless unless they dive.
Oh, that's the dive forward! Stunned up, locked up, read a book! Mersa is taken down. Vetheo arrives to the party, but he's too little and too late. Shlatan's making his way through the river and irrelevant. Can Gnar out, has flash available. This needs to be magical. This needs to be massive. This needs to be immaculate. Oh! Flash, that's just one! He found Winnie the Pooh, but he did not take him down. Irrelevant throws out the boulder. He's taken down where he stands. Shlatan's trying to make things work, but he won't be able to do so, and taken out on the retreat. Only one from the flash Gnar into the wall.
Oh, Irrelevant saw it in his eyes. Debut game, rookie season in the LEC. Flash, 5-man ult. Trevor screams Gnar in his sandals, but it didn't happen. He only got one, and XL win the fight. 5 kills to them. You can see he's wearing sandals. Yeah, the whole audience just sees it.
Yeah.
And yeah, great dive from XL.
Really, really well played. I mean, that was set up from moments ago as well, because at this point, Finn had already left, and the threat is now re-engaging. But this combination, I mean, the Stormbringer coupled with the final chapter, it is just so powerful against what are very short-range champions.
And it looks good, doesn't it? I mean, if you look from Irrelevant's vision, this looks like a nice flash ult. Shlatan's on the side. We can get them. Oh, damn it. And XL just, you can see how they split up. Nukeduck went top side, Patrik went bot side, Finn was around the middle. So they were split up just enough to avoid that.
Could have been game-changing, but instead costs 2 more deaths. Didn't see the flashes in response. I think everybody was waiting for that. They were, you know, XL were fully aware they were walking in front of a wall, and they were just holding their trigger fingers on that flash button.
And props to Irrelevant, right? They have the balls to just go for it and say, screw it. We could lose a fight here and give up 3 kills, but I could get a 5-man ult, and I think being a rookie in your first game and going for that play, why not, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a game of inches, and unfortunately the inches were in XL's favor, but 5 kills to 0, 4,000 gold up, 2 dragons. The first Herald didn't take down that tower. I don't know how many objectives Markoon has stolen away from Shlatan and Misfits, but is starting to look like a very dominant opening game. And now for XL, transition. I want to see their mid-game play. I want to see what they've learned throughout the course of the off-season. I think Mickey was a little bit outspoken about how the organization had brought him in to try give some leadership, try work on those issues, and we saw development, but I want to see more.
And that's why we were skeptical, right? We never really saw Mickey as that leader on G2. We saw him as kind of like the quiet, incredible mechanics playmaker. We'll play some random support champion. I mean, I was streaming today just asking my chat, what other support in the world would pick Yasuo, you know, and make his AD carry play center? I think Mickey would probably be the only other one that would fall into that category. But yeah, I think he probably has kind of taken the reins in terms of shot calling. I know Markoon is quite a vocal player, and we'll see how their macro evolves, because right now 4,000 gold lead, going to break open this first tower of the game. 1 minute left on the next dragon, will be a Cloud Soul.
Do Misfits find an opportunity to fight? No teleport for Irrelevant, no Nobot either. He's making his way up through the mid lane. Nukeduck was hovering just in range of Destiny. And XL, they've pulled that gold lead even further ahead. Just remind everybody of what their spring season looked like. XL went 1-2 in the first week. 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. Finally got that 2-0 after a couple weeks of playing with Mickey. I think he joined in week 3, if I recall.
Yeah, I think it was week 3, week 4 was when Mickey came in, and there was definitely an improvement curve. I think the 1-1s were not exactly what XL wanted. Managed to push himself to playoffs, which is great, and I just think they want to do more damage.
Yeah, I mean, crucially, wins against Fnatic, Vitality, Mad Lions, all in the back half of the season. It's what pushed them into their first ever playoffs. And they pushed Vitality really, really hard. So the only reason we, do all the setup and remind everybody of the history is then it gives context when we see them playing the other teams. Markoon didn't find a juicy target. We're 20 seconds from Cloud. XL doing the due diligence. Push into the jungle. Clear the wards if any. Take out the tower. And now Shlatan is just running for his life. Destiny comes in. The storm has been brought. The gold card has landed. And Shlatan gets dunked. Another kill for Patrik as Finn finds Neon. The Misfits are literally running for their lives with their tails between their legs.
Misfits were kind of all over the place there. I thought Shlatan was going to try to say, hey guys, let's kill the Volibear here. He's making a mistake. We're collapsing with 3 members. But then he Qs the air, Ws the air, misses everything. And then Markoon's the one chasing after him. So that's going to be 17 minutes in, 7 kills to 0, and 3 dragons under XL's back belt, and 2 heralds.
Don't be mad for what I'm about to say. Is it the year of the duck? 303 on the Twisted Fates.
FLICKR has been having a good year.
So multiple ducks, we don't have to specify which duck.
Exactly.
302
so it could be the year of the duck.
Oh my word. I actually would love to see that replay previously to find out. I wasn't 100% tracking Patrik. I was just focused on how long Markoon would survive. And all of a sudden, Patrik and Yuumi, Mickey show up, and then the Destiny brings the gold card down.
Yeah.
This XL is just styling a little bit.
And that's the power of the comp we were talking about. You think you're making a pick, you think Markoon's alone there, and then the Avengers just come out of nowhere. You hear the music just playing in the background, and everyone just comes straight in. And so it looks like here, Markoon thinks he's found Irrelevant. He manages to base in time. So now Shlatan's thinking that there's a jungler in his own jungle, sees Markoon, but watch what Shlatan does here. He sees Volibear, and then he just kind of Qs the air, Ws the air, and then he's got nothing left. No flash. Ultimate's away, and then he's the one being chased. In comes Nukeduck, in comes Patrik, and Misfits have lost the fight.
Oh my word, and he was rat-a-tat-tatting over the wall! Patrik is on a rampage! He was hiding!
He was, Trevor.
Man, this is such a great game here from XL. I'm very excited to see them play this draft very well, and Misfits, frankly, they haven't had any answers. They've just been on the receiving end of every single play. They've lost 2 towers, all 3 dragons. We're on track for Soul in 3.5 minutes.
Wow. 22, 23 minutes, Soul could come in. Finn might be caught here. Misfits looking for a play themselves. All we see signs of life. Finn has the ultimate in a 1v3.
It's going to be very tough to catch, especially now that Markoon is arriving. brings the thunder with him. No further follow-up. Shlatan hiding in the wings. Patrik can continue if he wanted to. Stepped into the jungle, but has now backed away.
And I think when you're in a game state like this, you kind of have to, as a Misfits player, turn your eyes towards Vetheo. You know, he's up around almost 20 CS, still even in levels with Nukeduck, which I think the majority of his team kind of behind in XP right now. Can he find some kind of 4-man shockwave, 5-man shockwave, Mega Gnar? You're looking for that kind of wombo combo, but the person who needs to set it up probably is Vetheo. He's going to farm up towards that Seraphs, get 2 items, and will deal a lot of damage. I mean, XL don't have that much frontline. You know, Twitch, TF, Yuumi, if Shockwave hits that backline, they could get melted. But for now, XL just playing very controlled, using numbers advantage across the map, currently playing on 2 lanes.
Oh, I think it's so sneaky, passive-aggressive, rude for Patrik just to pop out, say hi. But I do appreciate
It's a good gesture.
Giving respect. He was stepping back, didn't go further than he needed to. And the only thing for Vetheo finding those moments, you need a multi-man shockwave to do massive damage.
Definitely. Definitely do. And I hate to say this. I hate to look through this lens, but right now Misfits are facing a perfect game. If they don't get anything. No Heralds, no Dragons. Hello, Neon.
Oh, Markoon coming running in the wings as well. It is such a scary combination. Destiny has been popped, the gate has been opened, the gold card has landed. The man that was targeted first is now continuing to run for his life. Ooh. The final chapter has not been read. And XL, this time around, do not land their punches. 20 minutes in. 1 minute and 40 seconds. It is possible for XL to set the fastest soul of 2022 if they can secure it before 22 minutes and 41 seconds. Do you want to know who got that soul? And it's G2 against Misfits.
Oh, was that the game that they
lost? Okay. Yes, that is correct.
Ooh,
so we might be
will
in for
history
a
repeat
banger.
itself? We will see, but just go back to that play there in the jungle. Neon, no cleanse, no flash. Nukeduck stunned him, ever frosted him. Mikyx was popping the ult, but Markoon looked extremely hesitant. He could have ulted on top of him, chased him down, but decided not to go for the play.
And crucially, Neon loses his flash for that minute and a half or minute away dragon fight. Looking across the list here, Patrick's is on cooldown, but will be available for the fight. It's up in 20 seconds time, and you can see backing, spending. Kraken Slayer secured along with the Blade of the Rune King. Nukeduck's got that rapid fire cannon to extend the range on those gold cards. And yet again, Caedrel, vision from XL is spectacular. Every time I look at the minimap, it's just blue dots littered across the rifts.
Yeah, the only vision Misfits have is the defensive 3 pinks in their topside jungle, which first of all, you don't want it there, and second of all, you need to move it towards bot side for this dragon. They're going to push in mid, control this bot side. Misfits, what are your options? You have to try and push mid in as 4 or 5 members and then walk in into the bot side river through mid, or just engage straight up on the next mid wave, because otherwise XL are just going to finish the dragon.
Okay, new theory. Just kill Patrik without losing anyone and you can win the fight.
Just kill Patrik.
He has so much damage. And he has so much protection too. We are setting up. Neon is getting jumped on.
Oh my god.
Neon
He's dead.
is burning to a split. He cleanses away from the poison. He gets away with his life.
He's alive.
Irrelevant is in trouble. Gold card tags as well as the prowling projectile. Neon escaped with this slither of health, but Patrik is not done yet. Gonna camouflage up once more, looking for somebody to ambush. And 22:41. That's the time. 22:41. No, don't go away. Go back to Dragon. The Dragon is secured. Misfits, the first and second fastest souls conceded. The Destiny was used there by Nukeduck, pushing this wave in, pushing that vision, and yet again, another successful play. Perfect game is on the cards.
Definitely is. I wonder what the world record is in a competitive game in major regions for the fastest dragon, you know, the fastest dragon soul, because maybe XL could be in contention for that, because that was extremely quick. They looked for Vetheo there, got his flash. I wonder what HP Neon had as well, because that must have been a single-digit health bar. Oh, no. Patrik! Maybe they're listening to you, Trevor. Just kill Patrik! Just kill Patrik!
He's dredged like
Get him!
He's silenced, but he's not dead! He's not dead! The perfect game is still on! Now all of a sudden, Markoon's turning around. Neon is down! The 5th kill for Patrik! The Mersa's trying to spidey away. The 6th kill for Patrik! And the dream is now dead as a tower has fallen.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Irrelevant got the top tower, so the perfect game is gone, but they can still keep Misfits on 0 kills. Irrelevant should be as good as dead here. I mean, actually, XL's going towards Baron. Maybe he can kind of hop over the wall and try to kite away. Nukeduck doesn't have the ult.
This is going to be one of the longest chases in history. If it continues, gold cards, the Gnar bar starting to ramp up. Oh, missed! Hop sidestepped. Okay, Mega Gnar will buy a couple seconds. It doesn't even get up.
Well, they tried to listen to your advice, Trevor. They tried to kill Patrik. They dove him on the tier 2s, and they all died for it. Gave up a Baron, but at least they tried.
Do you know how low they got him HP-wise?
Patrik.
Single digits. 8.
That was Patrik's HP?
Patrick's HP.
Wow. Okay, well.
Production team on point today.
Yeah, snappy on that stuff. And yeah, XL, Soul, Baron, 24 minutes in. We'll see what Misfits can get. They're going to get themselves a bot tier 1 and a top tier 1, which I presume the first and the second now are going to give over objective bounties. Here's the just kill Patrik in action. Mersa starting it off. Patrik flashes next to the tower and then the hook bends it like Beckham. So I think Patrik definitely didn't go towards 6 HP there. I think maybe Neon was the one who lived on 6 HP from Patrik earlier on in the single digits.
Got it.
Patrik was a healthy boy there. Durability change is doing him wonders in that dive. Tower is doing a lot more damage. XL begin the siege.
My word, 8,000 gold. Soul, the Baron, 3 minutes to Elder. And while they're setting up the siege, do want to just remind everybody of things that this Misfits squad did in spring. Do you see that G2 logo at week 7?
Oh, yeah, I saw it though.
Okay, great. I'll bring it back in a second because it looks like the fight's happening. Turn off the tower! There's the zap coming out as well. Underneath everything, and Vetheo goes down. The shockwave wasn't even pulled. Markoon's looking for 3, but it'll be Finn that picks it up. I mean, that is just obliteration.
It's not very fair, is it? It's like in an MMO when you duel someone who's 20 levels above you, you know? You just stand no chance whatsoever. They're just too tanky, deal too much damage. XL gonna crack open the first inhibitor of the game. Can they end? They have 2 range creeps. Finn's going down to pick up the wave with the Baron buff. Doesn't give him move speed anymore, but it'll be buffed up when it arrives. XL want to end this game.
Patrick's destroying the towers. The minion wave's been pulled up with the buffs. XL are now onto turret number 1. Irrelevant and Mersa asking for mercy because they are irrelevant right now. Gnar into the wall does nothing. Patrik finds some time with the stopwatch. Irrelevant will be taken out. Patrick's looking for another kill to pad the stats. 605. Exquisite. Excellent. Perfection from XL.
I mean, what more can you want from a game? They gave up no kills and they gave up 2 towers. Had a Soul, a Baron, and 15 kills in 26 minutes, and they had 50k gold back on. I mean, I think if you're a coach of XL, you're probably pretty proud and happy with them for that game. No one was getting caught, no one was inting. Misfits never really found a single play.
2 things are true about this game. XL played exceptionally well, and Misfits did not show up. They did not have answers to everything that was happening the moment that snowball started rolling.
Yeah.
Since Markoon started to steal away those camps and picked up the kill onto Shlatan, the pace just picked up to the point that they set the fastest Soul of the year, taking that record away from G2 both times, Misfits being the recipient.
And I think there was a lot of expectations on this XL roster coming back into summer after doing pretty well against Vitality in the playoffs, a lot of promise throughout the regular season. Mikyx coming in after a couple months, doing wonders for this team, them going to Korean boot camping, and now you look at this game and you think, wow, is this the summer of XL, you know? It's only game 1, of course. Misfits probably disappointed in that game. A lot to think about, a lot to rethink, a lot to reevaluate. Come back, still 2 days left of the Super Week.
Correct. Coming back with a new roster, of course, and needing to work on issues that were glaring in the playoffs. But now I've just got this uncomfortable feeling in my stomach, Mark, that I can't get away from. Every time I see something from XL, I like the story. I like the team stuck together. They went to boot camp. They're, you know, developing on themselves. Every time I bought that ticket to train station, it didn't get me where it wanted it to. And I bailed in spring. I got rid of my ticket expecting to be disappointed.
Did you get a full refund?
No, I did not.
Oh god, you got scammed, Trev. Well, I think the train looks a little bit more refurbished now. A little bit more refreshment. Seats are a bit more comfy. Train goes a bit faster.
What will be interesting to see is whether or not this level of control and coordination can hold up against many of the other teams, of course. I think it would be fair to say, coming into the season, that expectations were that XL would be growing up in power rankings and Misfits would have been dropping. We'll have a lot of time to discuss that in the future. For now, Kia, player of the game, at LEC on Twitter. Markoon, Nukeduck, or Patrik. It's actually tough, I think.
It is tough.
I think if I were voting, and I'm voting for me now, but I don't want to sway, I would probably lean towards Markoon. I think he was the first man in on so many of those plays, and then everyone else did everything they needed.
The thing is, Patrik just had too much fun. His team's winning, he's playing Twitch Yuumi, he can run around the map and kill anyone.
He shouldn't be on the list.
Who would you put? The Yuumi player or the Gwen?
God, they all suck. It's
I put
so
Patrik
tough.
on the list.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, what a great game from
Definitely.
XL, and we'll have to see how they perform over the course of the rest of the weekend, and whether or not they're going to play some more of those funky drafts. What did you make of the drafts when you look and you think about it holistically? How surprised are you versus what you've seen from LPL and LCK?
Definitely a lot different, but we're the first major region to play on 12.11, which has a lot of changes in it. I mean, 12.10 was big, 12.11 was big as well. Pick comp worked out well. Very bad damage kind of share later on in the game, unless Twitch is very far ahead. It was on Misfits to slow the game down, and XL just found so much productivity after that one mistake in mid, I think.
I'm very hopeful that our region will continue to be creative and develop. We've heard from a lot of other regions talking about things that we discover. Anyways, we're going to hit to break, and when we come back, Markoon will be joining the Analyst desk. Good job, youngster.